How's it going today, guys? It is I, Joseph Stones. And I don't know if you noticed this, but my compatriot here at the Todd and Joe Morning Show, Todd, is not here right now. He had a prior engagement he had to handle. So we're bringing you a special edition of the Todd and Joe Morning Show. And it's going to be something we call Spilling the Royal-Tea. Get it? Royal-Tea, like royalty. As a child, my mother, Mama Stones, has always had a very fondness and a love for the royal family. In 1980s, she was one of those people waking up at 1 o'clock in the morning to watch the live airing of Prince Charles and Princess Di getting married, and she's loved it. And I just got done reading Prince Harry's biography, Spare, which is phenomenal. And I've always kind of felt a little bit of a kinship to the guy. Same age, kind of felt that I almost grew up with him. And certain things that have happened in their lives coincided with big things that happened in our lives. Like when we had moved from Turkey to Japan, my father had a heart attack in between there, and it had taken us a couple extra months to get over to Japan. And on the day that we moved was the day the tragic passing of Princess Di happened. So today, my mom, Mama Stones, my sister, Emmy Stones, we're going to discuss some of the different things that have happened in the royal family. So now, without further ado, Mom and Emmy.
Hi, everybody. Well,
Okay, why don't you bring some real energy here, Mom?
Okay, can I clarify one thing? It was 1981 they got married, not 1980.
See, and this is why I've brought you on here.
I know.
Because you are the pseudo expert when it comes to these things.
Yes, they got married in 81. Yes. What else would you like to know?
Okay, let's start off. What made you feel so connected to this?
I've always felt connected to England, the royals, previous lives, I'm sure. But I've always loved it.
So, what about Princess Di and Prince Charles? Because from when I was a kid, you've always loved Princess Di. Why don't you tell me a little bit about the background of them, and just let me know, kind of explain, because I don't know it like you know it. I know bits and pieces here and there, but you were paying attention kind of from the beginning. So the controversy around their courtship and Princess Di herself.
Well, I just think it goes back to I think it was a simpler time, and it's that whole thing of, royalty and being a princess. And she was basically, even though she had a title, she was a commoner. She was working in a nursery school, and, it seemed it was attainable. She made it seem attainable. She was an average person, somebody we could all relate to. Actually, not unlike Meghan, if you want to know the truth. But
well, I kind of noticed the parallels between them.
Right. And she was very bashful in the beginning, and not too much was known. And I think one of the things that you have to understand, you guys look at King Charles now, but then Prince Charles, and he really was at the time like a catch, like how Prince Harry was known for the catch of the year, whatever. That's how Prince Charles was in his younger years. He really, I know it's hard to believe, but he really
he's a 70-year-old man now, so I know I was quite the catch when I was younger, and I'm not the man I used to be.
But the thing that Diana did was through her journey, if you will, and getting married and the demise of their marriage and whatnot, I think what she brought a realness to the royals. she gave us a little glimpse of insight, which was interesting, especially with the demise. Everybody was excited for them. First of all, it was the first time they had a marriage in a very long time when they got married.
Right.
And everything was hush hush and grandiose, and it was really built up. And frankly, I think the country needed it at the time.
Right.
And so they get married, and everything's wonderful, and they have the kids. But then we get a little glimpse of inside the Yes, my darling.
How long were they married before they had their first?
Not long. They got married in 81, and I don't know how old Charles or William is, but
Well, Harry was born when I was born. Either he was born late 84 or early 85. Keep talking. I'll look up the year, Ma.
yeah. So the point being, he was a catch and blah, blah, blah. We didn't know too much about Camilla, or I didn't know too much about Camilla at that point. But now we do know that there was something, going on. And I think when Diana started speaking, we saw a glimpse into the royal family that I believe Harry has continued with honesty.
Agreed.
We have a preconceived notion of the royals, but we don't really know the schematics of it and how it works. But Harry actually let us in.
Mm-hmm.
And I, with the book The Spare, which I thought was really good, and I thought he did an excellent job and was not nasty. I thought he was kind to his father. I think that the way he portrayed William in it, was fine. Yes, two siblings. They're going to argue. That's life. Let's be real.
Boy, is it.
So, like, the way I look at it is William remains in the old mentality. Like,
Yes.
he has, and me and Mom, before we started recording, we're kind of talking about it, is very similar to, like, the American counterpart of that old school's men don't show emotion, men are stoic, where you had, where it was more of like a tough thing in America, where in the British, it was a gentleman. Like, you were very buttoned up. You did not show emotion. You did not show love. You did not show affection. And I feel like William is much more like that, where Harry is like a product of the current times. Like, and I think it's another reason why I feel such a kinship towards him, because we were raised in that time where by men who were like, men don't show emotion, men don't cry. But now it's much more commonplace for a man to be like, listen, I'm not good mentally. I've gone through some shit. Like, I had, like in his book, he talks about he used different substances to help him through all the trauma and everything he's been through. And for so long, men weren't allowed to address their trauma. They weren't to address their emotions. Their role was to just sit there, shut the fuck up, and deal with it. Where Harry has embraced this new way of going. Go ahead.
So what you're saying is true, but I also think we need to take it back to an expectation. Okay. We need to look at we all have preconceived notions of the royals, and
correct.
And there we have certain expectations of them. In other words, if we saw Queen Elizabeth crying and everything, we would it would affect us. And the royals have been a stiff upper lip and towed the line, but to what cost? Harry and William, to a certain degree, have been able to live somewhat of a normal life up until the point where their father was crowned king. Probably
define normal there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I absolutely disagree with that.
Okay, so when I say normal, and again, to a degree, they were expected to serve in the military, do their thing, whatever, go to school, la, 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 la. But like Kate and William were able to live together before marriage, and can we say test the waters, if you will, or you know, um, let me tell you, Elizabeth and Philip didn't do that. However, prior to her becoming a queen, she and Philip did have somewhat of a normal life where she cooked dinner and entertained and had people over. Okay. Short-lived because her father passed away. So I'm saying normalcy in certain ways. Now, Harry, even though he had expectations placed on him, he was that spare. Go ahead, honey.
Go ahead,
I
Emma.
was just going to say, I feel like William has more of a, you have to abide by these rules because you are our future king.
Yeah.
Whereas
Absolutely.
Harry was the spare and didn't have all those expectations. So he had more leeway and less you're fucking up than William did.
Right.
And I feel like you use the term normal life, but
No.
if you go out in public and everybody in the world knows who you are,
Right.
even though they might be able to participate in some normal things that everybody
No,
does,
you're
there is
absolutely
no
right.
sense. There is no right. Like the whole world mourned for your
Yeah.
mother's death when
Absolutely.
you were 12 years old.
And the other thing interesting about that is, in the book, in Harry's book, the things that he spoke about, like walking behind the casket, and the fact that like nobody explained to him, again, you have to stiff upper lip, you have to do, and not being in touch with the emotions or getting help or whatever, like you were talking about before, like that's had an impact. And can you imagine how that feels to be that spare, that throwaway? You got to be around, just in case, which is not unlike Queen or Princess Margaret had with the Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And how the rules and regulations of the royal family affected her life, and how she couldn't marry who she wanted to, and it messed her up to a great deal,
And like I applaud Harry for having the balls to like essentially say, you know what, fuck this, I'm out. Like I'm not doing this. I've done this for my whole life. I've always felt inferior. I've always can you imagine your whole entire life being told, yeah, you're the spare. Like you're the backup. You're not as important as your older sibling just because you were born second. Like and it my heart goes out to the man because look at everything he's done.
It's conditional
and everything he's accomplished. And like right now, like the big thing in the news was like, oh, Harry and Meghan are in London and Charles is in London too, but they're not going to see each other. Like, oh, they have.
Yes, Em and I were talking about that this morning. So his father could not make any time. Now, I understand the man is busy. I get it. I get the fact that he's having treatment, but that's your kid. I don't care if you got to meet at 11 o'clock at night or whatever. You're going to see your kid. And I take issue with that. I take issue with it. Plus the fact that nobody in the royal family, it is the 10th anniversary of Prince Harry's Invictus Games, and they're doing a celebration in London. That's why he and Meghan are there. And none of the royal family came out to support him. But Diana's family did. So her sister and brother were both there supporting his endeavors. And, kudos to them. Yes, it reflects badly. And I think that at the end of the day, are they so conditioned that there's like no emotion behind there or passion, or do you know what I'm saying? I don't get it.
I know it's a different mentality. I know I'm not like British. I've never been to England. It's a place I do want to go. And before the end of this, Mom, I do want you to kind of talk about your experience over across the pond, but I couldn't imagine like not being so disassociated from your children or even like siblings and everything else. And I get it's a different mentality and everything, but at what point do you buck tradition and you go, you know what, that's my kid, like, and the whole world knows there's some beef going on between us because of this like ancient system of how things run. And like, let's be honest, like the monarchy isn't even like a true governing body. Do they have influence? Absolutely. Will they always have influence? Probably. But at the end of the day, it's not like King Charles is like, we're gonna go to war. Go ahead, Emmy.
And I just want to say that Mom was saying how only the Spencer side of the family went to go support the 10-year Invictus. And I think that's absolute bullshit. And I think it's petty on the Royals' part.
Let's TV time out for 1 second. Why don't you let everybody know why you have such a passion for the Invictus Games?
For those of you that don't know what the Invictus Games are, they are all the different nations that have wounded warriors, loss of limbs, PTSD, any type of injuries that were sustained during war time. They all come together and they do, what is it called?
They're like Olympic Games, essentially.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's like wheelchair basketball, sitting volleyball, wheelchair rugby, those type of things for people that can't do regular sports.
Adaptive.
And they all compete against each other.
Yeah,
Adaptive
sports.
My husband competes in that. So it's very near and dear to us. And I think that it's bullshit.
How many games did Brian participate in?
Whoops, I got to do it here. I'm in the wrong.
We went to Orlando, Canada, Australia.
Yeah. He's done about half of them, right?
Yeah, so 3 or 4 of them.
3 or 4 of them. But I think it's bullshit because here they are not supporting Harry's endeavors, which in that same breath, you're not supporting your own military members who have fought for your country, who you sent over to basically be maimed, and you're basically telling them that you don't support them because of this little feud that you have with Harry, where Harry didn't even do anything but protect his family.
It's conditional love. It's conditional love. If you don't do this, then you're not going to get that. And, yeah.
And that's the thing. It's not even like you're not supporting your own military. You're not supporting your allies. And like, this is something, these are the guys who, men and women who have laid their lives on the line, whose lives have been completely altered because of their dedication to their countries. And you're kind of saying, fuck you to them. Like, and then,
but we had to have a garden party. We had to do a garden party.
And you have to do these traditions and and to me, at the end of the day, I like traditions. I like annual things and everything. But when you're trying to overshadow and seem it's more important than things that truly do matter. Because these guys that participate in these games, these men and women from all over the world that come together to compete together. And I hate the term handicap because there is nothing handicapped about them. Like, they are some of the toughest, badass, some bitches that I've ever seen and witnessed in my life. And to me, it's almost like diminishing them.
Can I tell you something? When these people get together, the energy in the room is the most wonderful thing you've ever felt. It's like total alignment. The energy of all these amazing, wonderful people is palpable. It's amazing. And
Chills
Oh,
down
yeah.
my spine.
experience it.
Oh yeah. And like and you've had some interactions with Prince Harry, correct?
I have.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Or can you not?
No, he is one of the most genuine, sweet people I have ever met in my life. The amount of love and care that he has for people is off the charts. Every time Brian goes to the games, Prince Harry always finds him.
Right.
He always gives him his medals.
Mm-hmm.
He always tells him how amazing he is. And he's just...
And like, you guys FaceTimed with him before. Am I
We did.
correct on that?
We did a it was like a group FaceTime. And he's just, I don't know how else to say it other than he is just the sweetest person. And I commend him for stepping away from his entire world to protect the ones that he loves the most, because that is not an easy thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And even doing that and then still pursuing the Invictus Games, knowing that he does not have their support, and still pursuing everything that he is on his own, just shows the type of person that he really is and the strength that he has.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Absolutely agreed.
So I actually,
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for it and I just found it.
What'd you
I
find?
got, I'll do a screen share in a second. Hang on. But, un momento. It's something that kind of just, to me, it shows just how, let's see. All right, let's share entire screen. There we go. Let's see, window. There we go. Let's see this little picture here, guys. And if you look right here and right here, you go jump up 2 rows. Who do we have here and over here?
Yep.
That is so funny.
And just think about that. Like how close, like they're out there with the people.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And to me it's amazing. It's like how these games, the fact that because of his service, because of what he's seen and witnessed over there, the camaraderie he finally felt, because if you read in his book, he was lost for a long period of time because for so long he was told to do one thing and he didn't feel it. He didn't feel the connection to the royalty and everything else. And he found something that he was good at, something he wanted to do. And he wanted to deploy more, and the royal family wouldn't let him. So his idea he came up was the Invictus Games. Go ahead, Emmy.
Do you know why he was no longer allowed to deploy?
You tell us.
He was on a deployment, and I forget where, and it got leaked that he was there. And he had to they had to sneak him out because they were going to. Mm-hmm.
Yep. There's
And
a bounty on his head.
Yep. And so they had to sneak him out.
So that brings us up to the whole press and how, you know, the royals are perceived in the press and whatnot. And what I found interesting, and I want to say it came out with the interview with Oprah when Meghan and Harry did the interview with Oprah. it came out about, and this was very prominent in Harry's book as well, about the press and the firm. I think is that what they call it, the firm. How things get leaked and then they make deals, blah blah blah, to
Oh yeah.
release information and all that. And I don't know. I just find it very
Now slide over to your left just a little bit because you keep cutting yourself off like this.
This left this way.
Perfect. Stay right
Okay.
there. Yep.
I'm looking
So,
for a picture.
It's very interesting, though, the way that press is used in,
I agree.
to manipulate the situation. So that says to me that the family has a hell of a lot more say than their.
Agreed.
Well, and that's the thing. Like they influence things, and it's very similar how like the major corporations and stuff do too. Like they have the money, they have the juice to be like, hey, listen, you're not going to run that story, or hey, you're going to run this story, but you're going to run it this way,
or
like
you're not going to run that story. You're not going to run that story, but here's another story you can run.
Yeah.
Right. Or you can run that story, but run it on page 3. Run this on the main page, so it's not like we're hiding things. Like especially when it comes to Harry, like they couldn't even go in their basement with their friends and smoke a little bit of pot or drink without it being this huge, like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this. When every other person like his age across the world and is doing that, like is having fun, experimenting. Like he couldn't even have a girlfriend without it being first class news.
So the question is, do we expect too much from the Royals?
No, because like the thing, it's the issue I have with media itself is if you think about the royal family was the original celebrities back in the day. They were the original. Everybody knows everything about them. Everybody talks about them and everything else. And with the rise of celebrities, with movies, television, and now like influencers, all this stuff, they've kind of been put into that group. So now, just like with we're on 24-hour news cycle. So anything that happens becomes news. And these newspaper companies, these different media outlets are paying a shit ton of money for, oh, look, a picture of Prince William, his shirt's untucked and he looks besmirched. Like, look at all
disheveled.
Right. Or, oh, look, Prince Harry's having a cigarette. Like, look at, oh my God, can you believe a prince is smoking? Hell yeah, I can believe a prince is smoking. I bet you he has sex too. Like, oh my God. Like, and it's like look at all the stuff that happened around Kate with the pictures or whatever. This woman is going through a very, very hard time in her personal life. And so they shoot a photo on there. You had people going through with a fine tooth, looking at the different computer backgrounds, like, oh, was this edited? What, and you know what? This lady, and then everybody's like, oh shit, we made a big deal about something when she's got cancer and like she's in a battle for her life. But everybody was like, oh, is William cheating? Is he having an affair? Are they breaking up? All this speculation because the whole world is so obsessed with the drama and the negativity and everything else surrounded by it. And I know I titled this Spilling the Royal-Tea. That was more, it's because of a pun. Anybody who knows me, I love a good pun. Dad jokes are my life. But this is more of a love for the royal family kind of thing. Because I know how much, especially you, Ma, like you love it. You feel you were probably a princess in a past life.
I have to say
I would say queen.
No, I
Yes,
have
queen.
to say one of the biggest thrills of my life was to go to Windsor Castle. And I can remember just like being in awe. I don't know how to explain it. Like you look at, I just like I was floating through there, and I
You thought
couldn't
you were
imagine
home.
all the people like walking through, and I'm like, do you not get this? Do you not feel this energy of what's happened? And yeah, I thought it was absolutely wonderful, and I would love to go back, and I'm so thankful for that opportunity. And I would love to go back before I die, because I just think it's the most wonderful place. And I do believe that the Royals have a place, and will continue, but it's got to change. And that was one of the things, we were going to talk about scandals and whatnot, and there were a lot, and I think that's probably something for another show. But
So
it's
you're saying
through
you're willing to come
those.
back now?
Absolutely, talk about the Royals, you got me. But it's through those scandals that they've evolved, and they really
I
have.
agree.
And I'm anxious to see. I mean, we're not going to know for a very long time, but we have this situation between Harry and William, and I'd like to think it's two brothers that will eventually find their way back to
Reconnect.
each other, because I do believe they need each other. And I think now, with Kate having her issue, and King Charles having his issue, that it would be a wonderful place for Harry to come and help William. But anger is
Well,
never.
I get the impression that Harry has tried, and it's William's stubbornness
I agree
that
with you.
Anytime.
And I'm not
and
sure
as
a part of it.
as somebody who, not obviously to the scale that William and Harry have gone through it, but
Right.
as somebody who has had personal beefs with siblings over the years,
Absolutely.
one more recently than the rest, you come to a realization, and I know I have come to, I personally had, with things that have happened in my life, like losing Steve, like dealing with, even though it's almost been 8 years, like my father, our father, your husband, mom passing away, the importance of family, importance of maintaining those relationships. Because at the end of the day, and I'm not just talking about blood relation, because family is what you make it.
Absolutely.
And that's something you, Ma, had taught us at a very, very young age, is you are who you hang with. That always echoes in my head. And as I've gotten older, my circle of very, very close people has gotten very, very smaller. And don't get me wrong, I have plenty of friends, acquaintances, but some of those friends over the years have turned into the brothers I've never had. And people I would do anything for, as much as I would do anything for my sisters and you. And like I am fortunate enough that my sisters married men that I consider brothers. Like especially Emily's husband Brian. As much as a dick, and yes, you're a dick, Brian, he is one of my favorite people on the planet. And I couldn't find a better person for my sister. And at the end of the day, William needs to realize that's your little brother. And whether you want that responsibility or not, as the older sibling, you have that responsibility to be like, hey, I was a dick. I'm sorry I was being an asshole. Let's fix this shit. Go ahead, Emmy.
And also, he needs to realize, as in William needs to realize, that Harry is one of the very few, if not only, people in this world that can understand and knows what William is going through, or has gone through, or will be going through.
Point of reference, yes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's a thing, like me and Emily and our other sister Andrea, we've had that conversation. I've had that conversation with them. Nobody in the world understands what we went through as children, moving all over the place. We had to be our own unit. Like most of the people that we're close to, we were friends with, have roots like where we settled down, like in Rome, like those. Now, Emily was fortunate enough to be a little bit younger at that time, so her roots are a little bit more in there from a young age. But like for me, I was 13 years old when I moved back stateside, where most of the people I knew all the people they knew, they've known since as far back as they can remember. And the only constant I ever had in my life were my mom and my sisters and my dad. But like those were my constants. So at the end of the day, my support system is the same support system I had when I was 8 years old.
Right.
Have the dynamics changed? Absolutely. And I just wish, as an older brother, that William would be like, you know what? I don't care what's expected of me. I will do my responsibilities. But at the end of the day, what's more important? My relationship with my brother and his family, or this archaic system that has been around for centuries that it's outdated. Like, you have to evolve, and they have evolved, but it's been real baby steps.
The thing too, though, like, and I totally agree with everything that you're saying, but we don't have an insight as to what's going on, like with William.
Absolutely.
We know
This
how
is just all from
difficult it
our
was,
perspective.
right? But we know how difficult it was for Harry to break away, and you know, in his book, the way he had to do a plan and blah blah blah, like an exit plan or whatever. William doesn't have that luxury, you know, but
except he does, Mom. He does have that luxury, because if he wanted to, he could do the same thing. He could write a book and tell his perspective, because I can only imagine the weight of responsibility as the heir apparent, like, could be like that. The pressures on him, probably, that William doesn't even realize that he went through as the oldest. I'm supposed to be the king of England. Like, from the time you popped out that you can remember, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, you're gonna wear the crown someday.
Yep.
You might wear the crown before, and your dad might not. Like,
and what he's going through now, his son is destined to do. Everything he's going through, Georgie is gonna.
And what do? Do we keep the cycle going, or do we break it?
Do we have to break it, or can we manipulate it a little? Yeah, exactly. Make it. I don't know.
Well, when I'm talking about break the cycle, I mean break the cycle of you have to do everything prim and proper. You can't show emotion. Like, think about that they 12 and I think 14 years old when their mom was, in my opinion, horrifically murdered by a bunch of assholes trying to get stupid pictures. And they had to follow the casket, not just, bring the casket out, you know. They had a parade. It was essentially a parade through the city. You had to follow your mom's casket, and you're being told, don't show emotion.
You can't cry.
You can't show any emotion. I'm 40 years old, and I know, God forbid, many
not even going to talk about it. We are not even going to talk about it.
It's going to happen, guys. I'll tell you, it's going to happen.
But I know
Mom is going to live forever.
I'm going to cry like a newborn. There will be no person in the world to be able to console me. And you're expecting that from a 13-year-old boy and a 15-year-old boy? Get the hell out of here.
Because I think King Charles is not going to live very long. I really don't. I think he's...
I honestly think that he should have abdicated, and it should have gone straight to William, because this whole year that he's going to be king, because he is not going to last. This whole year that he's going to be king, they spent how much money on the coronation, how much money to switch the face on the monies. All this shit is a waste of money because you've waited your entire life to be king.
But
that's very
selfish. I don't think William's ready to take over, to be honest with you.
I mean, if I had been waiting 70 years to become something, and I finally had the opportunity, despite how little of time I'd be able to get to do it, I'm probably doing it too, to be honest with you.
And, you know, I got to say something about Prince Charles, or King Charles. He's done a lot of good. You can't take away from what he's done. He's done...
Well, I'm not taking anything away.
You know, I think he would have been better served, you know, had it skipped over him. Even though I don't know that William, I wouldn't, you know, God, if William had been crowned, like, and they had to go through this with his wife, and, you know, of course we don't know. Like, and that's another thing too, clarity. So why not just state what she's got? Why not
It's
just
that
tell?
whole. It's the whole we're the royal family. We don't need to talk about it. Go ahead, Em.
So, question. You say that you don't think that William is ready right now to be king.
Right.
Do you think Elizabeth was ready
No.
to be queen at the age
That's
of 20?
a very good point, honey.
But look
Point.
what she has done.
Okay, agreed. And I think you're absolutely right, because she was in her 20s when she
Yes, she
crowned.
was.
And
Early 20s.
And we know that she wasn't really prepared for it in many respects, but she learned. OJT.
Sure did.
Everybody.
Real fast, too.
Yeah, that's a very good and valid point. I will accept that. Yes.
I mean, who really is ever ready for anything? Like,
no.
I'll ask you this straight up, Mom. Were you ready to be a parent? Mentally, you might have thought you were, but once kids came out, it's something you learn as you go. And I feel like,
yeah, I was ready.
I know. I thought I was like, all right, I got this. And then the kids came out, and then the whole what to expect when you're expecting books and all that shit. It all went out the window. And
no, I get
you're playing audible every single play. You might be calling one play, but guess what?
Hail Mary!
Those kids are going to make sure that that play does not go the way you want it to go.
Yeah. Okay. I get that, but yeah, you're right. And he probably would rise to the occasion, and we would probably see more change. More rapid change and the evolution of it. But that's it. Like another, you say Elizabeth kept things under wraps, I think, better. Again, because most of her reign, you didn't have mass media like you do now. We're talking a whole new ball game.
Oh, trust me. I've had this conversation with my Matt and Sims and all that. It's like, I am so thankful that we were part of the very, very beginning part of the smartphone era, because if that shit was going on when I was in my 20s, let me tell you, yikes. There'd be shit all over the internet of me that I don't ever want my kids or anybody else to see in this world.
Right.
And the fact that I can only imagine, and it's not by choice. It's not like somebody who chooses to be a celebrity or whatever. You're born, and the second you're born, the whole world knows you were born. And from that point on, they want to know every single little thing about you. Like little things. I wonder how big that they are. If you get what I'm insinuating. Like, oh my God, can you believe that? The whole shit with Prince Harry, the Halloween costume, the whole Nazi thing and whatever. He's not a Nazi. He absolutely has
that was such an innocent thing. I mean, I can see where somebody, again, up for interpretation, I can see where somebody might take offense, but he didn't do it in a vicious way. I don't believe that at all.
Go ahead, Emmy.
I agree with Mom. I think that I understand that it is extremely offensive. 100%.
I get that.
I see it and I get offended, and it has nothing to do with me. But I also think that as much as the royals are out there, the children are also extremely sheltered. And I don't think that 2 and 2 were put together. And I don't think that he meant to offend anybody, because that's not in his soul. That's just not who he is.
Right.
It was a costume he wore.
Right. He's a kid. It'd be no different than when I was 14 or 15. I'm like, oh, I want to be Michael Jordan. So I put a bunch of brown face and paint on my face, put a Bulls jersey on.
Something like that. Yeah.
I guess I had what gives me issue is we live in a world today that everybody will be offended by something, and it's always been that way. But we also live in a world today that everybody thinks that their opinion matters. And I know that's funny coming from me, who has a YouTube channel that essentially just talks about my opinions about things I'm into. But I try not to do it in a negative way. I try to, like, if it's something I don't like, I'm not going to talk about it. What's the point of putting the negative energy out there in the world? And he was a young kid doing something, hey, haha, this will be funny. And let's be honest, most of us out there have our friends, our group chats, or, where we can say offensive jokes.
Or parents,
everybody
yeah.
does it.
Mhm.
But the fact that people are being offended for something else, it'd be one thing if, in the Harry scenario, I was a Jewish person and I took offense to that. Fine.
Mhm.
But the majority of people that are offended by it have no real stakes.
They just don't like him. They're trying to find something to not like about him.
And
Right.
so, do you remember in the book what he spoke about when that happened? How far they took it?
Oh yeah.
And that, I mean, how far they took it, but the consequence of him sitting down with the rabbi,
Yeah.
and if that were any other kid, it certainly wouldn't have the publicity that it had for him.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I feel like that was just another incident where, a royal's not perfect. We got to make them perfect. They can't make mistakes.
And don't get me wrong, should he have been sat down, explained to? Should there have been repercussions?
Yeah.
From if that was me, Mom, you and Dad would have sat me down and be like, do you understand why this was wrong? You shouldn't have done that. That was a stupid thing, Joe. But they vilified him in the media.
Yes.
And that's what I cause issue with. It's not the fact that he did something offensive. Yes, He's a young kid. He's going to do it. He needs to learn from these experiences. The fact he was vilified. Go ahead, Emmy.
Mm-hmm. And I want to know the firm, each royal has their own little group of the firm that their media people, their speech writers, their everything.
Their PR
How is it that Harry's group of people, and there were many, allowed him, knowing that he is a young man, to do something like that, and you let him walk into the world wearing that and didn't say shit, knowing that there was going to be backlash?
I have an answer and a theory on that. If you read his book too, right?
I did.
So I don't know if he's gotten this from his experiences or he's come to the realization, but from reading it, I got the impression that the royal family kind of did it on purpose for a couple different reasons, to make them seem more normal, oh, we got a bad kid in the family kind of thing. And it would make William seem better. So they purposely highlighted Harry's, we'll call them misdeeds and mess ups and everything else, to make William look better. Go ahead, Ma.
So my understanding is it was a party, and Kate and William also went, and they were with him when he picked out the costume.
He asked William.
And yes, William put his seal of approval, and that someone at the party took the picture, and that's how the picture got out. So
and most of the stuff with Harry is shit like that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, look at Harry, and I don't think that his PR people, or whatever they're called, it was filtered through them. So I think it was just, somebody just trying to.
Well, see, that's where I disagree with you, because you're telling me any kind of photo information or anything about the royal family isn't vetted through the royal family before that shit's released? Absolutely not, especially in British media.
Oh, so you think
they're not allowed? They're not allowed to have pictures taken of them.
So you're saying that the picture has to, like, people would bring the picture to the PR to get the money or whatever it is to
Yeah,
hush
because
it.
most of these media companies, if they think they can make more money off of, hey, we have this picture of Harry,
Yep.
we're going to run it unless,
It's-
and
that sounds feasible to me,
so
Yeah.
in my opinion, they purposely made Harry look like the black sheep, like the bad kid,
Yep.
to make William look better. And even though they always say any publicity is good publicity,
Right.
so that like just by like it'd be like if me and Emily were both your famous children, and Emily was going to go help run the Invictus games, and she wasn't getting as much buzz as she would because Emily doesn't do anything. Well, Joe's in the limelight. Joe's whatever. And you're basically a shut-in. But like, okay, Joey got drunk at a party, did a keg stand, and he mooned a bunch of people. Oh, one of the kids there got a picture of it, but we have the picture. What should we do? You know what? This kid's bad. But also in that article, we're going to highlight about all the good shit his sister's doing. That's good publicity. Like that's how media is run. And with this 24-hour news cycle and everything, the attention span is so short that guess what? We need a new story. And that kind of started with around the Diana time when you had the satellite TVs and CNN and Fox News and all these places became a 24-hour outlet. Because I remember going to sleep at night, I got to stay up late and watch a movie. Midnight hits, they play the national anthem, goes to static for 6 hours. And then at 6 o'clock every morning.
Old.
No, I remember having to use the VCR to watch the 12 channels we had on our rabbit ears. You know what I mean? Like when I explained to the kids about Saturday morning cartoons and like you had to wait for the commercials to go get your cereal or go to the bathroom, and Logan's response was, "Why didn't you just pause it?" And I laughed. I was like, "Shit didn't work like that, dude." But it's as wonderful the evolution of times has been. It's also been detrimental to other things. Like there is no privacy anymore. And in my opinion, unless it's like crimes and shit and bad things that somebody's doing, the celebrity, the royal, the person should have control of what is out there, should have control of what the general public knows about them. And there isn't anymore. You got dudes like sitting outside people's gates trying to take pictures of you walking your dog. Like, oh, look, so-and-so doesn't have makeup on. Look at them. Oh, my God. And it's like this huge story. Get the fuck out of here, man. Like, let the person wake up, have their morning coffee, walk their dog, go take a shit, and get ready for the day. Like, I know I don't want people to see me before I have my face on. Like,
God.
says the girl who had to put her face on before she got on the podcast.
I also have a celebration of life that I'm not going to be able to get ready for.
I was busting your balls on me. But you know what? This has been very, very enjoyable for me.
It has.
And I think we should make this kind of a regular, semi-regular thing.
Okay. I'm in.
And whether it be about
You said yes to that way too quick, Mom.
Oh, Mom loves this.
This is just like us FaceTiming. This is just
I know.
Exactly what it is.
I mean, this
We
is
just got to watch the F-bombs a little bit more, Ma. And I don't know if I'll ever. I don't think I'll ever have you on with one of my friends because I don't want you to hit on them and get all weird.
Speaking of hit on,
Yeah, bitch.
I gotta say, Harry was single when I was single, and he had his opportunity, and he blew it. And it was that very picture there, just saying, it was that time period.
Harry, you're 10 feet away, but you had to settle for Megan.
Yeah, I don't know.
You could have had Mama Stones.
Mm-hmm.
You could have had Mama Stones, Harry.
Just saying.
Sorry, but I'm not calling Harry stepdaddy.
Mama call him daddy, all right. Mama call him daddy, which is honestly kind of weird because he's my age.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's fine.
No, it is not okay.
It's fine. Anyhow, this has been enjoyable.
Well, This is Joseph Stones,
Mama Stone.
Emmy Stones.
and this has been Spillin Royal-Tea.